Hello and welcome to the weekly news desk. Here with me, Chris Stafford, alongside my friend in London, Nancy Gillen. Nancy.
Hello. How are you?
Well, I'm okay. I cycled this morning, so that's always good when I've had a bike ride. And it's getting hot here in Middleburg, Virginia. How about you? You running?
Yeah, I went for a run earlier this evening. So, yeah, it's also a little bit muggy, but the sun's out, so it was a nice run. And yeah, good. Inadvertently had 2 weeks off running and could definitely start to tell that I was getting restless. So it's nice to get out again.
Yeah, and it's good to have a goal. Did you say you have signed up for the London Marathon?
No, I haven't. Not the London Marathon. So it's a ballot. So I had entered the ballot like a few months ago, but I didn't get a place. So I currently don't have a event that I'm working towards. So I think I'm going to have a look for one, see what I can do, just to give myself a bit more motivation. Yeah,
it makes a difference, doesn't it, when there's a goal?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, same here. I have a goal of another big bike ride in the fall, so I'm looking forward to that. Now, speaking of goals, we're going to start with football, because I know it's your happy place, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And we're only a week away from the Euros now, so getting very excited for that. And I know over in the US they've been playing some friendlies as well, haven't they?
Yeah, we had a couple of friendlies against Colombia, and we won the first one 3-0 and the second one 2-0. That was last night in Utah, where they had to take a heat break. It got so hot they had to take 30-minute interval for a heat break, which is unusual. But in the end of the day, we had a 2-0 win. One was an own goal, but it started at the last weekend in Commerce City, Colorado, and the Portland Thorns forward Sophie Smith made it 2 goals in a row, 6 minutes apart, Nancy. And they were both assisted by Rose Lavelle in the first of 2 friendly games, as I said, against Colombia. These were followed by San Diego Wave FC's midfielder Taylor Kornieck, scoring in her first game with the USWNT, and she actually delivered the perfect header from Megan Rapinoe, who served that to her. And she's tall, Taylor. She's, I think, 6'4". She's probably the tallest on the team now. So that's always an advantage when you're looking to divert a header, isn't it, if you've got the height?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really get... Well, I suppose, yeah, when you're heading that is you want the height on it. And in women's football, it's quite rare, I think, to get a player that's around 6 foot. So you definitely get a fair bit of advantage. Yeah,
and it was lovely for her, obviously, her debut. And I remember she played with the Orlando Pride, didn't she, before she moved to San Diego this season. But I have to say, overall, it was a very tepid first half for the US, even against a weak opposition. But I think words were spoken in the locker room for the US to come out with, I would call it, renewed focus and precision in their attacking line in the second half. So, yeah, a nice win for them to give them a little bit of confidence, where they're now, right, as we've talked about on the show, Nancy, they are trying to find that mix. Vlatko Andonovski is particularly the coach. He's looking for that mix now, combining the veterans with this new talent. And we have such depth of talent right now. So I think everyone's having an opportunity in these friendlies to prove their place before they go to CONCACAF Championships next month. But the second game was last night, as I mentioned, in Utah, and it saw a veteran starting lineup. And it was Kelley O'Hara, who's my local team, the Washington Spirit defender. She just came from, I turned on there she was, and she slammed one into the net in the 77th minute to add to an own goal. They had an own goal in the first half. So that gave us a 2-0 win. But I want to give a shout out to the North Carolina Courage defender Carson Pickett. She was the first ever player with a limb difference to earn a USWNT cap. So that was her debut too last night. And for those who don't know Carson, she's 28 years old. She's from South Carolina, and she was born without a left forearm and hand. But this has not stopped her at all. She's really coming to the fore now and making a statement on the squad. So great to see her starting yesterday. And, of course, the squad now head to Mexico for the 2022 CONCACAF Championships. They're qualifiers for both the 2023 World Cup and the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. So they will begin next week, actually, on Independence Day. It's their first game against Haiti. And then on the 7th, they play Jamaica. And on the 11th, they play Mexico. So these are important games for them, Nancy. So they've got to get that mix right, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think with the World Cup next year, it's quite a good time, I think, to experiment with players coming in, and what's going to happen to the veteran players. So, good to have a full schedule this summer.
Yeah, and so we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see who the lineup will be when they begin on Monday. It's on Independence Day. It's a holiday weekend for us. But you also had a nice little resort over there last week. You had something to smile about.
Yeah, I went to up to Leeds to the Ellen Road, the stadium there, to watch England play the Netherlands in a pre-Euros friendly. We won 5-1, which was a very emphatic result. It was 1-1 at half time, and then we kind of just ran away with it a bit in the second half, quite free scoring really. Really big win. Obviously the Netherlands are defending champions at the Euros. They won the tournament in 2017 and also got to the World Cup final in 2019. I think they are like a weaker team than from that period, and defensively not as strong, but obviously to beat a team like that in such a confident manner can only be a boost to the team, to England, ahead of a home Euro. So it's good signs. I think it's looking positive. Yeah,
that must have been something to smile about. Anyway, going into the Euros, because Netherlands were a team to be reckoned with a few years ago, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. And I mean, a Euros and a World Cup final in the space of 2 years is really impressive. So they've still got a lot of really good players as well. It's a really good result.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's a little tennis tournament happening down the road from you now. And we're halfway through the first week. How's it going? Wimbledon Championships, that is, of course.
Yeah, so Wimbledon, like you said, kicked off. Well, not kicked. I suppose that's a football term more than tennis term.
Serve. You can say serve. You can find another related term.
Yeah, I'm not that quick thinking. It got underway. It got underway on Monday. And it's been a little bit rainy here, which is a shame because the weather's been so nice. And then as soon as Wimbledon started, it started raining, which is pretty classic. Some interesting stories already coming out of it. I think for me, the best match so far, and probably one of the best matches I've seen in ages, is Harmony Tan and Serena Williams played last night in the first round, and it went to 3 sets. It went all the way to a tiebreaker. I think Serena Williams was 4-love up in the tiebreaker, and then Harmony Tan came back and won it. It was incredible. It was her resilience was pretty remarkable, and it was her first ever appearance at Wimbledon. So to do that, such a big win on centre court as well, is pretty amazing. So she is going now in the second round tomorrow. I think she's got Cerebus Tomo, the Spanish player. But also, interestingly, she has now, that match against Serena Williams was a bit of a mammoth one. It was something like 3 hours and 10 minutes. And she's now withdrawn from the doubles tournament, obviously to focus on singles, and probably because she's a bit knackered after that mammoth effort yesterday. But her own doubles partner, Tamara Kortpatch, she really slated her on Instagram today. So Harmony Tan withdrew, and then Kortpatch wrote this really long statement on Instagram about how disappointed she was and how unfair it was. And she said something like, if you can't play 3 hours, a 3 hour, 10-minute tennis match and then play again the next day, you shouldn't be a professional tennis player. So I don't think they're going to be playing doubles again.
No, maybe not.
Yeah, that's obviously got a bit awkward. I can completely understand Kortpatch's disappointment, and I think she has herself gone out I was actually watching her earlier today. She lost to Heather Watson, the British tennis player.
Oh, did she? Uh-huh.
Yeah, so she's obviously probably a bit gutted because she's now, her Wimbledon is over. She has to go home. Yeah. But just a little bit savage. So yeah, that's quite interesting. Then speaking of British tennis players, we had Emma Raducanu play earlier today, the US Open champion. She went out. She lost to Caroline Garcia in straight sets, and I watched that as well. And Garcia looked very, very impressive. And she's on quite a good run now, having won a smaller WTA tournament last week. So she could be one to watch in the tournament, I think. And then aside from that, kind of all there hasn't been really too many upsets. So Iga Swiatek's through to the next round, Coco Gauff, Maria Sakkari. I think the only upset I've seen in terms of the seeds right at the top is Annette Kontaveit went out today. But yeah, apart from that, it's kind of, you still got a lot of the big names there. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how it all plays out in the coming days. Is
Emma Raducanu playing in the doubles?
She's not. No, she doesn't play doubles yet. I think, particularly because she's having issues with fitness and injury, and so I think having the extra burden of playing doubles probably would be she's got to get her fitness up in singles before doing that. So yeah, that's her Wimbledon is over, which is a shame, but 19, she's going to have numerous Wimbledons to come, and she played well in her first match. She did play well against Garcia, but Garcia was just playing really, really well. So I'm sure she would have learned a lot of lessons anyway.
Yeah, because she played, was it on Monday, Emma, and won her first round, didn't she? On centre court. And I think that fulfilled a bit of a dream for her to be able to come out and play in front of a home crowd on centre court. That was a high point for her. I watched some of the clips of that and her excitement and jubilation, not least of all of winning, but I think just, the whole atmosphere and being there and, at your home tournament, and a big moment for her. So disappointing that she lost already, but I'm sure lessons learned, and she'll go back to her fitness and work on whatever she needs to do now. She'll probably have a bit of a break. Who knows where she will go after this, but she'll have time. This is the thing. She has time. She's only 19.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's so much of it is just learning the ropes. I think she was saying in an interview that she'd never played on centre court before, that, when you turn up and she didn't know how you walk out and things like that. It's just obviously things that we wouldn't think about, but as a player, it's where you get changed, where the changing rooms are, how you walk out onto the court, all of that. Which now she knows, and in the future that will just be routine to her, I suppose. So it's just all those learning experiences that are going to make her a better tennis player in the future. Absolutely, it's all about experience, isn't it? So Iga Swiatek, she's still your favourite to take the tournament? I'm not 100%. I think her winning streak might come to an end here because just grass isn't really her favoured surface. I think Coco Gauff maybe. I think Ons Jabeur as well, the Tunisian player, is quite a good shout. She normally performs quite well on grass. And then I really like the look of Caroline Garcia as well. I thought she looked great. So that's she's maybe a bit of a dark horse. But yeah, Swiatek, obviously she's just such a great player that maybe that would just come through anyway, but I think there's better players on grass that could beat her. So yeah, we'll have to see. Could have an upset at Wimbledon. Yeah, you heard it here first. Okay, we're going to move on to track and field now. And not surprising world record, but then a bit of an upset too. A couple of stories here about US track and field athletes. Nancy, do you want to start with Sydney McLaughlin? Because she really took the world by storm, didn't she, last year? Yeah, so like you said, at the Olympics last year, she set the world record in the women's 400 meter hurdles. So she won gold in 51.46 seconds. But yeah, she's managed to break that world record again. And in her own backyard at the US Track and Field Championships. So she ran that race in 51.41 seconds. So in doing so as well, qualified for the World Athletics Championships, which are being held at in Oregon. Is it August? I think it's just
August. I think it's August, right? It's right after the Commonwealth football.
Yeah, I think because it's
the Commonwealth. Sorry, the Commonwealth. Isn't it after the Commonwealth Games?
I think it is. I believe it is after the Commonwealth Games because it wouldn't overlap, but I know that it is. They are in very close proximity to each other. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's in the same on the same track. So Eugene's Hayward Field. So obviously McLaughlin likes that track. She's now set a world record on there. So probably at the World Champs be going for a world title and maybe another world record again.
Yeah, so I just checked those dates for the 2022 World Athletics Championships in Eugene, Oregon are July 15th, which is a Friday, through July 24th, which is a Sunday. Just note, Nancy, that it finishes the day before my birthday. Just saying.
I will note that. July the 25th. Yeah. so that's before the Commonwealth Games, because Commonwealth Games is after the Euros, and the Euros end on the 31st of July. So, so it's World Champs and then Commonwealth Games for the athletics. The British athletes and the people in the Commonwealth.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good to note. Tremendous. I mean, she just pulled away from the rest of the field, didn't she? I mean, you had to wonder, was she going for a record? Because she could just win it anyway, right? But she just pulled away like a Kentucky Derby or an Epsom Derby winner.
Yeah, I mean, she's so very dominant, isn't she? I think there's not many people that can beat her.
Yeah, it's great to watch. All right, your other story is a little bit more disappointing for US track and field, though, isn't it? Sha'Carri Richardson made news for all the wrong reasons last year, didn't she? Yeah,
so again, another kind of, at the time, talent coming out of the US, just came out of nowhere, really. And I think it was at the US Track and Field Championships last year where she really kind of burst onto the scene. And I think there were clips of her running the 100 meters, and she actually essentially set herself up to be a gold medal contender at the Olympics, but was then unable to compete at the Olympics because of a doping ban. So kind of disappeared from the scene for a bit, and has come back, and she's really struggled at the US Track and Field Championships this year. So she didn't get through the heats in the 100 meters, which is her the event that she really does well in, and the 200 meters. So subsequently hasn't qualified for the World Athletics Championships, which is quite obviously will be really disappointing for her. I think disappointing generally as well, because there was a point where it looks like women's sprinting is very strong anyway. But so you've already got, Elaine Thompson-Herah, Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price, Dina Asher-Smith, and then having Sha'Carri Richardson as an added person, I think made it even more competitive. But she seems to have fallen away massively from the standard needed to be competing with those sprinters I just mentioned. So, I don't really know what's going on and what's going to happen to her. Again, something to watch, I suppose, and see if she's able to regain that form that she had last year before the Olympics, which made people really kind of, be like, whoa, she's good.
Yeah, it was a big surprise. And she took over the mixed zone too after her performance. I thought, defensively, making a statement and not taking questions.
Yeah, I think she kind of, like you said, kind of preempted criticism that she hadn't necessarily had. But yeah, she kind of said to the reporters that they should respect athletes more and understand whether when they're winning or they're losing, that they deserve more respect and they're still human. And so she didn't really kind of talk to the media. I don't know if something happened that made her do that or whether she was just, kind of predicting that she was going to get criticised. But she just had a bit. Seems like she had a pretty bad week, to be honest.
Yes.
And all.
Yeah, it really was. Well, someone else who's had a bad week is the Nigerian athlete Blessing Okagbara. You've got a story there about her being found guilty of another doping offence.
Yep. So this is pretty, it's pretty damning for her and her career. I mean, so we spoke about this when it first happened. I think it was maybe a few months ago, but she had received a 10-year doping ban. So she's now received an additional year on top of that from the Athletics Integrity Unit on charges of evading sample collection, as well as tampering or attempted tampering with the anti-doping process. So obviously that's that we already kind of established that her career was over, but this additional charge was related to a missed test on June 13th, which now means that all her results from after that date have now been disqualified. So that includes the 4x100 relay race she ran at the Nigerian Olympic trials in June 2019. At the time, that run had qualified Nigeria for the World Championships in Oregon, which we've just been talking about. But because she has now received that doping ban, Nigeria have now lost their place at the World Championships. So I can imagine her teammates are pretty mad about that. And yeah, it just seems like what Okagbara has done is pretty serious, obviously, to get that 10-year ban. But if the article, which I'm sure will be in the show notes, it's linked. Actually, sounds it's linked to an anti-doping criminal investigation into doping in the US that the FBI have been investigating. So it's worth reading about it in more detail if you're interested, because it sounds like she's been kind of mixed up in some pretty, a lot of like covering up doping and stuff like that. So it's not great.
Not at all. Yeah, and as you say, they'll be in the show notes, the links to these stories, as always, at wisports.com. All right, well, our final story is about another US athlete, and that is Brittney Griner, the basketball player who's been detained in Russia. Nancy, you've got an update that came out this week.
Yeah, so unfortunately not the best news from that. Essentially, Brittney Griner has to stand trial in Russia because of the drug possession charges that she's currently being detained for. So she was did briefly appear in court. So there are some pictures of her that have come out, which I'm sure is a bit of a relief, because no one's been able to really see anything of her. So she had a closed door preliminary hearing at a court in Moscow. Her detention was extended by at least 6 months, and she now faces a trial. It's quite dispiriting. I think the statistic, it's fewer than 1% of defendants in Russian criminal cases are acquitted, and then acquittals can be overturned. So it just seems like her chances of being able to go home after the trial, being found innocent, seem pretty slim. I think you just have to hope for kind of external help from the US government, and maybe pressure put on in that way, because, it's a very desperate situation now.
Yeah, because they're calling it, the US government has got a negotiator involved with this, of course, and they're regarding it as a wrongful detention, and looking to, I think, negotiate her release in some way, whether that likely is to be, anticipated to be a barter, an exchange for a Russian prisoner here. But it didn't look good at all, and the way they were framing it now, as if she was being charged with large-scale transportation of drugs, which is a very different language to what we heard at the start, that she just had some for personal use, vapors. We're talking about cannabis here, but she was, she not only has she been detained all this number of times, but the court appearances we've seen, she's been handcuffed, which, for the charges against her, it just seems, I don't know. It
seems incredibly excessive, doesn't it?
It does.
Really?
It does.
Yeah.
So we'll continue to follow this story. And meanwhile, her wife and family and WNBA, everyone that knows her and is involved with the sport and knows her, it's pretty hard on them. I mean, really hard on them because they haven't had the contact. I think it was her wedding anniversary last week. Did you see that, Nancy? And they were arranging to have a phone call between her wife Cheryl, and that didn't happen. So that was a huge letdown for them because she has had not any contact at all with Brittney during the detainment. So we'll keep you posted here as that news develops. But the next hearing is on July 1st, which is this Friday, so in a couple of days, isn't it? So we'll probably have an update for you on next week's show.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, what else is happening, Nancy? You've got the Euros starting when?
So the Euros start literally a week today, so this time next Wednesday will be 16 minutes into the first match.
Exactly 16 minutes into
exactly 16 minutes. Between England and Austria at Old Trafford, sell out Old Trafford, which should be about 80,000 people. So that is going to be amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah. Now, are you going there in person? Are you going to be there?
I'm going to be there. I'm going as a fan. So for that one, I've got a ticket, going to be in the crowd. But for the rest of the games, I'm got press accreditation, so I'll be working. But yeah, I just really wanted to go to that first one as a fan and soak it all in and be part of the crowd, I think, because it's going to be incredible. And I think Austria should, not to disrespect them, but we should beat them. So hopefully if we get off to a good start and good win, put on a good performance, and then people start getting behind the team, that's what you want.
Yeah. Well, exciting days ahead for you. I know how you love your football, so I'm sure you will enjoy that. Now, will you post some photos for us of you being at the game on social media so we can share those?
Of course, yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. All right. I think that about wraps it up for us this week, doesn't it, Nancy?
It does, yeah. I mean, this time, actually, probably we're going to have to change the recording date next week, aren't we? Because I'm going to be at Old Trafford. But yeah, this time next week, we are, there will be a lot of more Wimbledon Euros stuff. So it's very, very exciting time to be a fan of women's sport. Yeah.
Yeah. Lots going on. It's going to be a really, really hot summer, from the Euros to the World Athletics Championships, the Commonwealth Games, and then, of course, we've got the qualifiers next week in the CONCACAF Championships, the USWNT, hoping, of course, to qualify for not only the World Cup next year, but also the next Olympic Games. So, important tournament next week. Fingers crossed, Nancy, that both you and I will be celebrating next week anyway, and the next 2 weeks over the course of these 3 games and your start to the Euros.
Yeah, we can US and England. That's be supporting.
Yeah,
praying to the football gods for both teams.
All right. In the meantime, of course, you can follow us on social media at WiSP Sports. Keep up with us there and post any comments, questions, or suggestions, and visit us online at wisports.com. And Nancy will tell you now how you can find her on social media and where you can read her articles.
Yep. So on Twitter, I'm Nancy_Gillen. My Instagram handle is Nancy_Gillen_sport, and everything I write is at Give Me Sport Women, and our Twitter handle is at Give Me Sport W.
Okay. So join us again next week for more. Until then, enjoy your sport and thank you for listening.